You've probably heard about it, the live streaming platform Twitch. For many, it's a safe space where they can share emotions, have fun, and just have that sense of community with friends. However, there's also a dark side to it.
I have my favorite streamers, and in my worst times, I can feel pretty bad if I miss a live. It's like I'm missing something important.
You're going to have to donate if you want them to actually read what you have to say, because otherwise they're not going to care about you as an individual.
Live streaming on platforms like Twitch closely emulates the dynamic of friendship and community between viewers and streamers, creating the illusion of a social relationship.
Probably the most prominent problem and loudest critique you will hear about Twitch is regarding some of the content on the platform.
Minor child who has now spent nearly and approaching $20,000 in Twitch donations.
Now, I don't want to make it sound like a bad platform, but me and 3 other friends, we took a look at it and checked, okay, how safe is this for children and what are the measures they are taking to make it safe for them? Actually, it's quite the opposite. We found a lot of dark patterns, just things they added to make it less safe for them in a way that it's more addictive, they want to spend more money, and also the whole aspect of the parasocial relationships. And maybe let's start with the parasocial relationships on the platform, because as you know, there's a chat next to the stream where you can communicate with other viewers as well as the streamer themselves. Now, this is nice and all, you get really that feeling of community, but for children, there's a problem when it comes down to the feeling of friendship towards the streamer and other people. They really feel like they know them, like they're friends, and they can share sensitive data and information about themselves, which we obviously don't want because it's still the internet. They're still technically strangers, and sure, for smaller communities you might get to know each other better, but it's still someone on the other end of the screen which you don't actually know, and especially a streamer, it's someone who talks to a crowd, not you individually, and for the younger people, this is very hard to differentiate. They don't see the difference between someone who's entertaining you and someone who's really a friend. And when it comes down to sponsored content, this can also be a problem because children, they don't really differentiate between a recommendation and sponsored content. They see a friend which advertises something and think, oh, that must be a good thing. I should go get that. I should spend my money on that. And specifically for me, I can relate to this because there was this one YouTuber who was sponsored by a robot brand. And I was at the time saving money to buy a Lego Mindstorm, which is pretty cool. But I got convinced by them because it really felt like something that was a good idea to buy. And so I ended up buying that robot from the advert instead of the Lego Mindstorm. And eventually kind of regretted that because it wasn't that high quality even though it was the same price. And I feel like as a child you should really get told, okay, this is an advertisement, I get paid to do this, and there have already been enforced laws. In the EU I think, or maybe it's just the Benelux, which say you should say that if it's an advertisement, like this is sponsored content, which is already good, but we, in the redesign that we made of Twitch, because we also made a version how Twitch might look like for children, simply said, okay, you can't show sponsored content to them. And that's kind of also how YouTube Kids take that. They also say, okay, you can't do that because kids are way too sensitive for that, so we just leave it out. And that felt like a safe option for us as well. Now, besides that, the chat would also kind of disappear for us because we would turn it more into an emote-only chat, kind of the ones you already see, but then only for children. Because we don't want to get the adults off the platform, we simply want the kids to be safe. So we would give them an emote-only chat, not see the other chat which adults are talking in. And also just simply say, okay, you can't show that adult chat on stream if you enable a child-friendly stream. Because if you don't, it will simply not be shown to accounts which are underage. And talking about these underage accounts, we would specifically for our redesign implement these such that children which aren't of age can still use the platform, but simply with limitations. Now, if you do want to get unrestricted access or just access some other features, you can link that underage account to a parental account, and they can tell you which features you can use and which you can't, and just simply set the rules for you on the platform. Now, they don't do this right now. You can simply access the platform without restrictions. But Reddit, for example, has been starting to do this because the EU actually started with a rule that says, okay, you have to verify their age for content that might not be safe for children. Many people are complaining because you have to use your ID card to verify, or you have to do a facial scan, and they don't like that for privacy reasons and maybe other stuff. And we get that, but we feel like this is really needed for the safety of the children right now. And maybe we can find a middle ground in the future, but that was our approach as well. And so maybe we will start seeing this for Twitch in the future in the EU as well, that they enforce these ID cards or face scans to verify your age, but right now they don't. And we also did some other features. We checked, for example, for the drops or the channel points, and we also checked the donations and some other stuff. And most of those we would also just get off the platform, mainly because they're not only addicting, but they want to make you spend money. More specifically the donations, obviously, because for the drops and the channel points, it's purely just addiction, because they kind of gamify it in a sense. They really tell you like, okay, if you keep watching, you will get like a bonus or a reward in some way. And that really gets children to stay on the platform, because I feel like, oh, just like half an hour more, I'll just keep watching. And they don't see like that end point, because there will always be another reward they can get. And so we would get rid of those, because we feel like we don't want to make children addicted, and definitely because children need that breakpoint kind of. They need to be told, okay, here's the end of the content, you can't watch anymore. And that is the same for raids. Raids also do this, where they keep showing you more streams, like if one ends, you have another one to watch. And we think that's bad, because it's kind of like TikTok, where you can keep scrolling. And even more recently, they added an infinite scroll actually on the homepage of the app. So we would also get rid of that, because children need that breakpoint. They can't just keep watching content, because they will be addicted. They will keep watching if you provide that. And that's bad. We would only show like a selection of streams, and only obviously the child-friendly streams, and just give them a breakpoint, give them rest. You shouldn't make them addicted. I get from a business point you get more money from that, but it's so unethical. It's not needed. Like I know TikTok has added these timers, and YouTube as well actually, to like say, oh, you watched 20 minutes, it's time to take a break, which it's not a lot, but it's at least something, like a measurement you can take to actually provide a breakpoint for these children. So they know, okay, yeah, actually you're right, I can watch another day or something. But the fact, like with these drops, for example, they're exclusive, so they have time pressure, and it's like, oh, only half an hour more, I can do that. So I feel like we can do better for children. It's not, I feel like this isn't the way to go. Finally, we also have high frames on the platform, which we would get rid of for children, mainly because it's actually quite insane how they made them. It's not only gamified, but it's gamified in such a way that it literally just becomes a game. It's not even a feature anymore, I'd say, because how it works is you have like the progress bar at the top, and it says like, okay, you have this much time remaining and you have to spend this much more to get to another level, literally like in a game. And then you get some rewards maybe, or you can keep the train going. And it's literally just, okay, why? And I feel like the answer is just, yeah, to spend money, obviously, because you spend money to get to a higher level. So it's literally just a game where you quote unquote win or get to the higher level by spending money. And for children, this is like not a feature that's needed at all. They shouldn't be incentivized to spend money, and definitely not just to get some rewards. And the thing is, sure, if it was presented in a normal way, it would be fine, but the fact that it's gamified with actual levels and confetti and everything, they feel like it's a game. They feel like they should spend money. It's just something they should do. And so we would get rid of that as well, because it's, for children, really toxic, we felt like. So sure, most features would disappear for the children, but that's mainly because they're almost all just dark patterns. They're all used to keep them on the platform or have them spend money. And what's the point of having the platform then if it's not ethical? We feel like we get that you look at it from a business standpoint, but to completely throw your standards out of the window is insane. And we feel like there should still be some kind of respect towards them and keep them safe. And in our paper that we wrote about this, we also looked at the designing for children rights, which, for example, say, okay, you should still keep it interactive and stuff. So in our redesign that we did of the platform, we tried doing that, like I said, with the emote-only chat. And besides that, we also kind of looked at the rules of more data privacy. So we would also say, okay, you can track the underage users. And we tried looking at more other aspects as well, just to get kind of a better platform that's more ethical towards them. And sure, they say, okay, if you're under 13, you can't access our platform or you're not allowed to use it. Well, obviously, that's such a soft rule. No one does that. You can still create an account, nothing gets checked. And we feel like the fact that they don't do anything to prevent that is too much. We feel like it's really just meant to get the money out of them. It's not by accident or anything. They really just want to use them. And that is our main problem. Not the fact that it's, oh yeah, we forgot something, or we didn't check their age good enough, but that's not the point. It's the fact that they go overboard and actually like do this stuff without really trying to do anything. I know recently they did add like a notification if you enter a stream which is more explicit or anything, that you get a notification. I do know recently they added like this black bar with text on streams that might be explicit or anything, that say, okay, if you are underage, this might be explicit or anything, so be careful. Do you still want to watch? But then you press yes and you still see it. So there's not really a hard boundary or anything. It's you're free to do whatever you want. And that doesn't feel right for us. So that's why we kind of did this redesign where we took some of the features away. We said, okay, we will implement underage accounts and underage streams, and just be more careful with what we give to children on the internet, make them safer, especially with the parasocial relationships, for example. And so we said, okay, sure, we will take away all these features from underage accounts, even though you can still access them with parental control. But we think in a perfect future that Twitch could actually work more as a platform to educate these people, where they say, for example, okay, you have a chat, people might cuss or they might say bad things to you. This is the internet. Please don't do that yourself. Please report them maybe, or they just try to teach these children how to go along with the internet in a good way. And for example, the same for the sponsored content, because you actually saw, okay, you have to teach them that this is sponsored content. That's why YouTube and stuff have this rule in the EU. I still don't know where it is exactly, but that you have to mention that it's sponsored content. And so that way you can teach these children, okay, I have to make the difference between sponsored content and actual recommendations. And stuff like that really helps the children get along with the internet, learn more, get better at just thinking critically about everything, which is also an amazing skill they can learn at the same time. And so from a non-business perspective, because obviously you won't get money from this, but this is a really good way to treat children on your platform, to just teach them the ways of the internet. And so even though we didn't go down that route in our paper ourselves, we think that it's a beautiful path to take as a platform. It costs money, it costs effort, it costs time, and it's not meant for every platform. Like we said, for Twitch, we might just choose a route to limit them, and because Twitch isn't really meant for them in the first place. But it's a nice thing to think about. To think we can treat these underage users in a good way, to teach them the ways of the internet, to help them, while also providing a service. Like, if these things can be combined, that would be amazing. And we think that Twitch is completely going the opposite way, and there's lots of room for improvement. Now, I personally don't think we will see that in the coming years, but YouTube has done some good stuff already. We have YouTube Kids by now. And we think other platforms might as well be heading in the same direction, where they do actually keep them into account. Okay, these people are underage, and we can treat them like they actually are underage, instead of just banning them or stuff. And we think that's beautiful. And I think I want to end it there because I think that that's the most important part. If we can take these children into account when we're building software, and we can actually think, okay, how can we make them safe? How can we make them learn how the internet works and how they should go about using our platform in a way that's good and not in a way to get money? I think that's really beautiful. I think that would make the world a little better.